that's why I'm like, going out of state. That's why I'm like, away from the family, away from the kids, because I want to fund that, right? I want to like support your ideas like you support mine, right?
Yeah.
And I mean,
But
that's
there's some
healthy.
girls that still be like, no, I don't want to do it. And it's like, girl.
Why is that? Why do you think that
I
is?
just feel like they're just not ready to commit. Like, you still like the party life. And like me working in the, the club industry, clubbing gets boring. Like, that's not everything. Like, you
So
go
good.
home lonely as hell. Like,
Because you're getting home late.
yes. Not just that, but also like, yeah, you wake up the next day and it's like, fuck, like, I just spent money. I just like got drunk for what?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I
You're
could've done
messing
that
up
shit
your
at home
health.
and watch
To
the
feel
movie.
like garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so, but some girls are just not ready to leave that.
Do you
scene.
think it's that they're not ready, or do you think it's a fight for power nowadays, man versus women, especially with the whole
I think that's
feminist
what it is.
movement?
100% is the agenda is being pushed, right? And because what's the biggest threat to a government? It's masculinity and people challenging ideas. And so a way for them to try to sway a certain population is to try to push this whole women empowerment. Nothing wrong with it, you know what I'm saying? But they shove it down everyone's throats. And it's like you shouldn't have to depend on a man. Like, all those traditional values and cultural values went out the window completely.
True.
And so now everyone's so programmed to like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't need that. Like, I'm all boss woman. I'm all about my money. Let me get my bag, that kind of shit.
Feminist.
Straight up. And again, there ain't nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But when you try to find a man of value that you want that tradition, you want that culture, like, you coming around with that shit, you ain't gonna find it.
Now I do have 2 daughters, and I'm mindful of feminism, right? But I think there's both good and bad feminism. So there's the bad feminism that's like, straight toxic, where like they think that they're equal as a man, and they could have the same kind of power and leadership. Like, no, I think like the way I raise my daughters is I give them everything they need and want, and I talk to my sons as well, like, hey, mijo, I'm not going to treat you the same way, and I'm not going to get on to you the same way that I do your little sister, because at the end of the day, they're the queens, right? And I don't want them to end up with someone who I used to be, right?
Yeah.
So I have to set the standard bar,
I was gonna say
like,
standard
at the
high.
highest. So at the end of the day, when she meets someone, she meets a cholo or she meets a vago or whatever, I'm like, nah, my dad wasn't like that. My dad provided, my dad led. But at the same time, it's very important to teach your daughters, like, get you a good man, but never, what's the word? Demasculate?
Yeah.
Emasculate your man. Like, once you do get you a good man, like, we all have a role, right? We all have a paper to play, a role to play. Like, give him that respect, give him that, honor, that, that care.
Like, you don't
right?
have to bow down to your man.
Exactly.
but also
It's
kinda
not
make him feel
about-
like you are that man. You know
Yeah,
what
a lot
I'm
of
saying?
people
Like,
nowadays make it seem like, oh yeah, like you're kissing your man's foot, like you're pretty much
No,
kissing
bro.
ass. Nah, bro, it's just like,
Hey, that shit feels good though. I'm not
Like,
gonna
he's
lie.
We'll be right
Like,
back.
Yo, they be on their knees, baby. I just love them. And it's not even like they literally get on their knees. They're just maybe in that situation where they're tying their shoes or something.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
But when they do that, and you're just like,
But that's-
hey, see, this is what I'm talking about.
But it goes back to that, right? And that's what we're being programmed to in the Western world, right?
Right.
Western society. And so that's why a lot of guys are actually starting to go outside of the country and go into South America, because those values are still there.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can essentially, if you're well set, right, and you're good to travel around, you can go find probably the most beautifulest girl in the village out in Mexico somewhere. Like,
And to be
You know what I'm
honest,
saying? Like-
I'd rather keep them out there, right? Because if you bring them
If you
back to
bring
the
'em out
United
here, then-
States, to the West, they
They
get
gonna-
corrupted.
they're gonna get
They
corrupt.
get corrupt.
Yeah.
Like
They
they
lose
get
their
compromised. Like,
yeah.
And I was telling somebody that the other day. I was like, y'all, women in America really don't realize how good they have it compared to the women
Yes.
in other countries. Because in
That's
other
true.
countries, women's rights are basically not even there. And the women here are complaining like, oh, we don't have this, we don't have that. But literally, women in other countries have way less
and
rights.
they're like the most.
Submissive and
Exactly.
everything. And so how do they have
Look.
less rights and they treat us how we want to be
So-
treated, but then y'all have all the rights in the world over here and y'all still treat us like garbage. It
I'm
don't
gonna
even
tell
make
you.
no sense.
I'm gonna tell you a story, right? And this is from one of my friend's parents.
That's yours.
His parents, my friend's parents, so like, it's like maybe a generation back, like his grandparents. the grandfather used to go out at night to the bars, come back smashed, right? But this is how traditional they used to be, right? And how like
He used to beat his wife.
no, espérate, that's besides. No, espérate, no. We'll be right back. No, there's the thing.